Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go through ad groups and writing search ad copy. This should be an insightful video loaded with a lot of good information and just going through a lot of the processes of creating a new campaign with a few new ad groups. In the previous video, we did some keyword research for Thunderhawk, which is Bear Claw's titanium gravel bike. Actually, it's shown right there in its bike packing form. And it should serve as a nice case study for this exercise because it's more than just one bike. It's right there a 650B all-road bike or road plus bike. It's also a cross/gravel bike, and it also serves as just a general road bike or even a mountain bike. So it's got a number of different keyword categories that users are searching that kind of reflect what this bike can offer. So we're going to build some ad groups around those keyword categories, and previously we did some research, so we will be dovetailing on the previous video, which was all about navigating the Google Keyword Planner. So let's dive in. Before we actually build this new campaign for Thunderhawk, I just want to show you a couple new additions to the account. Since you were away, I built a new campaign for Balthazar, which is Thunderhawk's, or excuse me, Bear Claw's carbon fat bike. And that's kind of the core keyword category for this bike is carbon fat bike. And we sort of use some of the same copy from the page here in the ads. So you can see we have our two ad groups, this one targeting carbon fat bike frame and those types of keywords, and this one specific to just carbon fat bike or the full build. In the next video, we'll get more into keyword bidding, match types, and that sort of thing. But just note here, we're still using that very precise bidding strategy of exact match, phrase match, modified broad, really just focusing on carbon fat bike, nothing else except for a couple long tails for lightweight and lightest carbon fat bike, as well as fat tire bike. As for the ads, notice how we have our 3 ads running to maximize the split test as well as potential creative excellence score and maybe ad rank. Again, those are sort of ambiguous benefits to having 3 ads running as opposed to just 2, but for the sake of best practice and running a solid split test, we have these 3 ads running. Again, using similar headlines with the keyword in the headline, carbon fat bike, for at least 2 of the ads. The main difference just being the second headline. We use some slightly different verbiage, sort of playing with that bear claw tone around incredibly light, fast, and fun. The other version of the ad saying lightweight, fast, attractive in the headline, and then we play with a slightly different description too right here, sort of using the same headline as that first ad. So again, we're not reinventing each ad completely. We're just kind of playing with different verbiage in different areas, but keeping the differences subtle enough to the point where we can evaluate our split tests effectively and then eventually create new split tests based on what's working the best. And then we have our third sort of one-off ad that's this one's a little bit more playful, Meet Balthazar by Bear Claw, and then we have a little bit more descriptive headline 2, carbon fat 27.5 plus 29er bike. So if that sounds foreign to you, we're really speaking to an audience who knows what they're looking for. So this is a little bit more off the wall of an ad, but again, it might generate some higher conversion rates as a result. So we'll see. That's Balthazar. I don't think we have to go into this too deeply, but again, we have the keywords targeting just frames here, and our ads speaking to carbon fat bike frame. Again, just aligning that user intent with the keyword and the ad just to maximize our click-through rate, quality score, and ad rank. Just pretty much a host of benefits when you have these very granular ad groups targeting very focal keyword groupings. So just planting the seed as we move into some other things here. So let's take it back to campaign view real quick just to show you some new stuff built around Frank. This was the original ad group we built for Titanium Fat Bike. We have one built now for Thai Fat Bike frames, and it's also a fat bike packing bike, which only maybe gets, I think, like 100 searches a month for fat bike packing, but still something that we want to capture and have a very relevant ad shown to users. So if we want to take a quick look at those ads, we have this one's definitely a little bit more interesting and kind of creative. Adventure Fat by Packing With, and then that headline too, we go Frank by Bear Claw Bicycle Company, and then just keyword in the third headline. So again, with this new structure here, the third headline may not show up. I'm under the impression that it's sort of reserved for advertisers who are spending a lot of money and bidding highly on these keywords, as well as the description too. You know, it's probably unlikely that your ad is going to show both the headline 3 and the description 2 unless you're bidding high enough for that to engage. So something just to keep in mind. You know, that's why we might use, you know, something a little bit more playful or creative or even keyword driven just to help generate more click-throughs. Again, your strategy may be different, but just something to note about the new expanded text ads with Google. All right, guys, so I think that's enough of the stuff that was built when you were gone. Let's build out the new ad group, or excuse me, new campaign for Thunderhawk. Now, we already went through this process once in a previous video, but I think it will be good to do it again a little quicker. So again, we're creating a search ad, and we're just interested right now to generate website traffic. Plug in our domain. Call it Thunderhawk. And again, we are not going to combine search and display, nor are we going to use the Google search partners. We're going to stick just with Google search. This is going to be just in the United States. English. Daily budget is going to be $20 a day. And we'll just keep the delivery method standard. Now our bidding, it's giving the option to bid for conversions or conversion value. In this case, we're going to bid using clicks. I highly recommend just sticking with that for now, unless you want to sort of automate things down the road, in which we'll discuss that in future videos. We're going to start the bidding off across all these new ad groups at $2. And down here, the bidding strategy is right now set at maximize clicks, which again, we'll cover this in the next video where we talk about keyword bidding and bidding strategy. But we are just going to use the manual CPC for now, even though it's not quite recommended here by Google. We are not going to be leveraging any audiences or start and end dates. However, we will be adding some new ad extensions for Thunderhawk, which I believe I already have them installed. So I do have a text edit pad or a text pad open here with some information that's going to sort of lead the way into our creation of these new ad groups. But just to show you some of the new site links we're going to be using for Thunderhawk, here we have one that's just called Thunderhawk Gravel Bike, and it just takes users to the Thunderhawk page. More specifically, I think that one we're actually using for the branded campaign, but these four at the bottom sort of reflect the Thunderhawk's capabilities as a bike. So here's its 650B Road Plus, again, CX Gravel, 27.5 MTB, and see how I have these all as our site links. And if we just click into one, it's still taking users just to that same URL we don't actually have any sub pages or dedicated URLs for each of these features. If we did, we could take users there, or say like to a page dedicated to like the build and geometry specifications. But in this case, we just have the one URL to work with. So it's a common scenario for Google advertisers, but don't be discouraged. Be creative. Use that same URL 4 times just to get 4 unique site links up there. In this case, we have those 4. We could even add another one. I mean, this one is extremely keyword relevant. Most of these new ad groups are going to surround the gravel bike theme, or at least close to it. And we could also play with stuff like order online or contact us. But I think this is going to look pretty cool if we get all 4 of those site links showing. So that's good for now. And the callouts, now these are already sort of plugged in, and we're playing with some kind of cool callouts that sort of speak to Thunderhawk as if it was a human. So one of them here is handsome and rugged, and lightweight and fast, and touring and bikepacking. Well, actually, I don't know if that was the one. I think we had another one in here. Yeah, there it is, bike packer and adventurist. So playing with the plus symbol, instead of an and or an ampersand, I think it just might stick out a little bit. Plus, considering it's a road plus bike, it just kind of goes hand in hand. So be creative with your ad extensions. I think it's just something that's there for the taking to leverage. It'll expand your ad's real estate greatly by using them, and it doesn't cost you anything more. So I think we have all this set up pretty good here. I think the last settings down below, we have more options for extensions, but we'll do that later if applicable. Maybe the price, I don't know, it's just kind of a custom type of bike, so that wouldn't even work. But lastly, the ad rotation. So we are going to not optimize and rotate our ads indefinitely. So basically that means each ad group and the ads within those ad groups, those ads are going to rotate evenly. So Google's not going to start to optimize or prefer what it considers the best performing ad. So this just enables you to have full control over your split test. Again, I've covered this in previous videos, so sorry to be redundant, but it is key if you want to run your own split tests. So here we get into actually building the ad groups. Again, this is the slightly more simplified interface, but it also works just fine. So we'll use it. Again, I have our keyword bidding strategy already set up here for each of these ad groups we're going to build. I do apologize in advance for some of the just copy and pasting that we're going to have to go through. But hopefully it kind of hammers home the process. So this ad group we're going to call Thunderhawk Gravel Grinder, and that is what keyword theme we're targeting is gravel grinder bike, titanium gravel grinder, and that's the type of verbiage we use in the ad copy. So we have our 3 ads right here for that ad group, which we'll address here in a minute, but let's get the other ad groups populated down here. Again, Google's giving you some keyword ideas, but really these aren't relevant at all to the ad group we're building. So most times you can just disregard that information. So running with that same naming convention, Thunderhawk dash name of ad group. In this case, we'll go all road plus. And just keep the bids consistent just for simplicity's sake. But in future videos, we'll get more in depth with the bidding techniques. I believe the next one is adventure and bike packing. Did we skip that? I don't think so. There it is. So again, just extremely tight ad groups based on these keyword themes. And our last one here is going to be probably the most popular is around gravel bike, titanium gravel bike, 650B gravel bike. We'll just call it gravel bike. Okay, let's move on to creating our ads. As you can see, we have our 4 ad groups here. Click new ad. Now I'm going to see if I can split this into 2 windows just for easy copy and pasting here. I guess we could use that URL there. And let's go down to our first gravel grinder. So one thing to point out with these ads, with the differences, we're using the same description text in both description lines for each of these 2 ads at the top. The only difference is our use of the second headline. We're saying 650B Road Plus, and this one we're doing all road 650B. So we'll be able to know what the difference is, and if we see one performing much better than the other, then we can sort of attribute it to that better headline too. The third ad, again, is just kind of the off-the-wall, much different than the other 2, using Thai gravel bike, not even gravel grinder, but still very synonymous, and some slightly different description text. So very different one-off ad there, but that's kind of the same theme I like to run with in doing ad split testing. So let's actually get these ads populated. And you guys might be wondering why I use EditPad Pro here as opposed to like Word. I just enjoy the interface more. I mean, it shows you, the character length down here, 83. It's easy for mass find and replace, and I actually started as an SEO copywriter back in the day, so that was the platform I used to write content. Okay, first ad's good. Let's just get this back to full window. You can see here our site links, very specific to Thunderhawk, our call extension, and just barely you can see some of the call out extensions there. Actually, if we flip to the desktop ad, we can see all 3 callouts, both description lines, just 2 of the headlines, and then the site link. So a pretty sweet looking ad. Okay, let's call that one done and just duplicate it for efficiency's sake. Grab the slightly different headline 2 and call that one good. And then our last one, I suppose we can just duplicate it so we have the same final URL. And let's play with a slightly different display URL as well. We'll call it Thai gravel bike. And meet the gravel grinder bike that delivers exceptional versatility, resilience, and speed. Designed for all-road adventure rides, mixed terrain endurance races, and gravel grinders. Again, using that keyword. Does not show in the headline for this ad, but that's okay. It's still pretty relevant. All right, that's our first ad group all set to go. So let's churn into the next one here. This one is for the all-road Road Plus ad group. Again, using the same sort of structure here. The only difference is that first headline, all road, versus Thai Road Plus. And the description is the same for both of those top 2 ads, so it'll make for an easy duplicate. All right, save that, duplicate it, open it up to edit, and put in that slightly different headline 1. Hit save, or done, and then we'll just duplicate one more for that off the wall, more kind of cool, maybe more successful ad when it comes to driving click-throughs. Meet Thunderhawk by Bear Claw. And then actually it says Bear Claw and then it says the brand again, so I'm actually just going to leave the titanium never looked so good. And we'll just keep the URL path natural for that one. So, all right, let's do at least one more here. I think you guys are probably grasping the concept, but we're just going to hammer it home here with this last one for the adventure and bike packing ad group. So let's get this one rocking. This one using a slightly different headline. Actually, both are using different headlines. So I believe this ad group in particular, we're really mixing up the headlines, but keeping the description lines the same. Good to go. Let's duplicate that and throw in those other headlines for the second ad concept. Just throwing 650B in front of that same headline. Getting that Meet Thunderhawk in there. Again, we're really pushing the Thunderhawk, VVCO, Bear Claw Bicycle Company, and some of these headlines just because it's sort of one of the goals of this campaign is, we're still kind of a blooming brand. A lot of people have heard of us on Instagram or other social platforms, but they're turning to Google to figure out more and learn more about this company and this bike. So we sort of want to play to that brand in the ad copy. So that's sort of why we're doing that a little bit more than maybe another type of campaign. So, all right, thanks for bearing with me, guys. I know that was just a tad tedious. I think you guys get the concept. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue, and I'll come back and populate that last ad group at another time. Here's our little recap just to kind of check in, make sure our bidding strategy is where it should be, and it can give you some estimates, but of course we'll get that all dialed in with things as it goes. So there's our 4 ad groups all set to go. We got ad extensions for the campaign. However, if we wanted to create dedicated ad extensions for each ad group, we can do that as well. Some things I wanted to show you just with some of these other features. If we wanted to take a look at the devices, that can be kind of a nice feature. I think the overall search popularity with mobile devices has increased quite a bit just in the last couple of years, and we actually will do a lot of mobile bid adjustments because of that. That ad real estate in the mobile search results is a little bit more of a kind of premium listing. If you're ranking in the top 1 or 2 and the paid search results are at the top, that's like premium ad placement, and sometimes it can be worth putting in like a mobile bid adjustment for certain ad groups, by 30%, 50%. I mean, sometimes up to like 100% if you want. So, if we were bidding $2 and we bump that up to 50% bid adjustment on mobile devices, that would increase the bid automatically to $3. So just helping us secure that top ad placement in mobile search, which is I believe to be much more compelling compared to desktop search, where you have just a little bit more clutter. As opposed to mobile, you see what you see up front and you just kind of scroll through. So something to think about or experiment with. Other than that, your main settings here, you can adjust the bid rotation, or excuse me, ad rotation on the ad group level. You can also do this on the campaign level. Actually, I may have, okay, yeah, so it's automatically defaulting to our campaign settings, but we can change that on the ad group level, like I just said. So, Other than that, everything is pretty straightforward. You have ads and ad extensions here. If you want to have specific landing pages, you can use this feature. Other than that, the audiences and demographics, I personally don't use too much. That's typically a little bit more relevant for display and marketing, but you can also use some of those features for search ads as well. So that's our new campaign for Thunderhawk. I wanted to show you guys just a couple more examples of sort of ad group structure using a different campaign. This is kind of an interesting opportunity. I built this campaign like probably 5 or 6 years ago. It's for a company called German Bliss. They're based out of Illinois, and they have a local presence selling like tractors, farm equipment, and that type of machinery. But they also have a really strong online presence selling parts, replacement parts for these different pieces of equipment. So that's a huge portion of their Google Ads account here. And if we click in this area, you can kind of see the overall landscape of the different campaigns that are active. And if we were to click into, let's go to one that I'm really familiar with, Bush Hog, or excuse me, that's Bradco. I meant to click this one here. We can see the different ad groups nestled under this campaign. So if we just click into the main Bush Hog Parts ad group, we'll be taken to the overview interface, but I like to go straight to the keyword interface where we can see how this ad group is performing on the keyword level. So again, we'll get more into keyword specifics, and we'll probably refer back to this account because like I said, I built it like 5 or 6 years ago, and then it was taken over by another provider, and just like last week, the owner of this company came back to me and was kind of uncertain how things were performing and just wanted to have someone take a look at it. So he asked me to take a glance, and I think it's just a really good example for us to use throughout this course, just to troubleshoot and see things that might be big opportunities. So let's just look real quick. Keywords, again, this will be the next video, but I can see some use of broad that's not quite bidding high enough, despite looks like having a pretty good quality score. It doesn't really have that triggered in the columns, so I would probably adjust the columns to see the quality score as well as what the first page and top page bid estimates would be. And he's using enhanced CPC, which is fine because this campaign's been on for a long time. It's generated a lot of activity, so it's a perfectly fine bidding strategy. But to stay on focus with this video, let's take a look at the ads and see what's going on here. So it's good. There's 3 ads running. It looks like this ad is being favored quite a bit with a lot more impressions. This is over the last 30 days. It's definitely seeing a lot of activity, but it's interesting to see that this ad that has accumulated almost double the impressions as these 2 ads has a much weaker click-through rate. So I'm thinking this ad is kind of the underperformer. If we sort by click-through rate, we can see that these 2, the top performing ads, use that same quick shipping, great service headline 2, and this one has a slightly different headline 2. I think everything else for the most part is similar. These say shop low prices in the description. Does not say shop low prices in this description. So whatever, these 2 ads seem to be performing better, so we'd probably pause that and create some new ads using that 3rd headline, the 2nd description line, and maybe play with it to be a little bit more creative and see how that goes. So I think ad copy and doing some split testing is a big opportunity for the taking here. It's got dynamic structured snippets, something that we'll touch on later. And it looks like these ad extensions that he's using are On the campaign level, I think they're fairly relevant, so they look good. We could also experiment with that, but um, other than that, that's sort of all I wanted to show you. Oh, the one last thing was, yeah, the ad rotation. So let's go back to ad groups. Let's open up the main ad group here for bush parts, and let's see the devices. So it's got a 19% bid adjustment for mobile, which is good because it looks like mobile is generating a huge volume of conversions. It's a little bit more costly per conversion, but I mean the sheer volume is massive. So it looks like a lot of the activity is mobile. So we might even suggest boosting that up to closer to 50%. And just out of curiosity for my own sake, I want to see the other ad group from mower parts. Again, some bid structures here that I'm not sure if I would be using some of those techniques, but something we'll cover in the next video. Okay, same thing. So again, that one too, getting a lot of activity. So just some things that to play with your own projects. Guys, this has been somewhat of a longer video, so I appreciate you bearing with me and my choppy language sometimes. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.